So Karandeep, just a small maybe introduction of yourself first, and then we can really kick off with this topic, which is how to be the best at CAPAs. And I hope we'll succeed really to help people to do that. You had made a video, I think last week about CAPAs, a small video. So let's maybe jump also on that and educate people as much as possible. So small introduction.
Yes, so my name is Karandeep Badwal. I'm a quality and regulatory contractor working in the medical devices field. You may have seen me before on Easy Medical Device. I've done an episode with Mania. And just as Mania touched on earlier, I also do content on LinkedIn, with my latest video being the CAPA process. Now, from the CAPA process, I had a lot of questions. Karandeep, can you please go into more detail? And that's what I'm hoping me and Mania will solve for you today.
Yeah, so we try really to be as efficient as possible when we know that CAPA should be efficient. So let's try to kick off that. As you said, so Karandeep was on my podcast. We discussed about how to be or to jump in the regulatory affairs role. I think it's one of the podcast episodes with the most of the views for now. So I think a lot of people are interested about that. So yeah, I think it's great. Okay, so Karandeep, let's jump in maybe now with these slides. What we'll do today, we'll have a bit of a bit of study or courses where we'll try to educate you a bit on that, and an example that we took an example, so just to make you be more aware of that. But all what we are saying today is not like proficient, like we are not covering everything on everything. What we are trying to do is to provide you some kind of tips or strategy on how you will do that. Because I hear some people already say, oh, you missed this, or you missed that, or you missed that. Yeah, we can miss a lot of things, but at the end, the objective is really to be conscious, if I can say, of the data, to be providing the right information, to be fair, if I can say, with all this problem and how to solve it, and not just to try to avoid one certain route because it's more difficult. So we try really to go and back all this. Okay, Karandeep, so let's start maybe first.
Okay.
What is the CAPA process? So on the agenda, we'll have what is the CAPA process, the common issues, and a summary with a question and answer. For people that are on the live, so don't hesitate, go and ask questions during the live. I will be watching and checking if there is something, and then if there's something, I will drop that and try to answer to it. So don't hesitate at all. What is a CAPA? So this is something that is maybe misunderstood by some people. I know that if I'm talking to logistic people, they will say a CAPA is a capacity. So how much capacity do I have for this or that? My CAPA is 30% or this or that. So no, it's not that. So a CAPA means it is a tool that is used specifically within a quality management system to allow a company to recognize or investigate on potential issues and to resolve those issues. So this is a tool, let's say a problem-solving tool. So how I can solve a problem, and here is something that you have to open within your quality management system, which is a CAPA. So CAPA means corrective action and preventive action. We had just a discussion a few minutes ago about the word preventive or preventative. So I was asking, is there a difference? But apparently no. So I'm using the word preventive action. But yeah, I know that I hear some people saying preventative action. So maybe people on the audience will say, oh, this is the difference, or I don't know. Let's go to the next one, which is corrective action. So corrective action is mainly something that, an action or an event that occurred. So it's something that happened. It's not something that we think will happen. No, it's something that happened. And it's like a compliance, a non-conformance, an internal audit that happened with some issues, a quality management review where there was some topics or some issues that happened there, etc. This is an event that happened. So it occurred, it's a fact, it is happening there. And preventive action is to try to solve an event that maybe didn't happen didn't happen at all, maybe will occur. So it's really something that you are thinking. For example, we have some preventive maintenance for some machine. We think, oh, maybe it will break down next time because this one thing is not working correctly or we define an issue during the preventive maintenance. We have also some testings. We are doing testings, but usually we have the upper limit, the alert limit, if I can say, and the action limit. And we say it's above the alert limit, but below the action limit. So here we can say maybe it will be a preventive action also. So this is some differences. But Karandeep, on your career, have you used more the corrective action or preventive actions?
I think it's more the corrective action. What's happening is a lot of companies are sitting and waiting for a problem to arise rather than actively trying to get it. So it's a corrective action. Whereas in reality, preventative action is the one that we should be using more often. We should be spotting issues before they become apparent. But unfortunately, in the industry, we're waiting for problems to arise and then we're going for corrective action.
Yeah, I think I had an episode where I talked about that in my podcast also, discussing about trying to find the issue before the issue finds you, and this is the case. And I think if you invest in preventive actions, you will really gain a lot of money, if I can say, because if I can say, you will avoid those issues to happen. But something that you don't see, you think that will never happen. And some companies are thinking that there is no need, if I can say, to invest money on something that will maybe never happen. So, so it's a strategy, but yeah, there is some companies that have maybe another strategy to say, let's make some first investigation or continuous investigation of our system to find issues before those issues happen. Okay, so now let's go to the next one, which is where can we find those CAPA systems? So first, the first one is, I mean, I put this one, but there is other ones. The ISO 13485, 2016, but the 2003 before was also the same. You have the 9001 that also have CAPA, and this is specifically something on the system on this ISO 13485 that is, I mean, people that are in the medical device field know CAPA because it's specifically requirements for ISO 13485. It's chapter 8, which one we said? 852, I think, and
852 and 853, I believe.
Yeah, 852 and 853. 852 is for corrective action, and 853 is for preventive action. So you can find that there. And you can also find that, for example, within the FDA with the 21 CFR Part 820. So it's really equivalent. I mean, I never changed my CAPA system because I had an FDA audit or because I had a notified body audit. It's really equivalent in terms of what you need to have for your CAPA system. For the FDA, for example, I'm using a tool with my teams, which is the QSIT. I don't know if you know this tool, which is, I mean, a tool. It's a guide or a document, which is the Quality System Inspection Technique, here, QSIT. And there is a specific chapter. I mean, there is a chapter for everything, but there is one chapter for corrective and preventive actions, which is telling you what kind of questions a notified body, not notified body, an inspector or an FDA inspector should ask you, what they have to look at. Even there is a table for the sampling, so telling you how much CAPA they should check out of the number that you have. If you have a certain accuracy, if I can say, you need to check more or less. So it depends on the confidence on your system or on the issues. So yeah, QSIT is one thing. I mean, it's old. This is the old thing. It's August 9, 1999. So you can have it. It's also available on the FDA website. I think I need to find the link, but you have everything there, and they are telling you exactly what are the questions that are asked. And this can help you to prepare for your CAPA system, because I think, Karandeep, you also discussed that on your video. CAPA is one of the things that brings most of the non-conformance during an audit, because I think it was not well done. Is it do you have the same experience?
Yeah, I think one of the main reasons FDA issued 483 observations is CAPAs. So unfortunately, such a simple process is causing a lot of problems in the industry.
Yeah, it's correct. So it's why let's try here to help everybody to understand how to do this. Okay, so Karandeep, can you drive us through those different steps of a CAPA? So what are the things that people have to go through? So step one.
So step one, first of all, we need to identify an issue, right? Whether that be through your customer complaints, whether that's through your own findings, maybe one of your employees has suggested. So you need to come up with an issue first that perhaps needs resolving immediately or something that may need resolving in the future. Then firstly, once you're there, you need to decide, do you even need to raise a CAPA for this? Is this something that can be fixed in 2 minutes? For example, one of your production machines have failed. Maybe it's because you just need to change the power system on there. You can fix that in a few minutes, job done. You know, if it's more complex than that you've seen that this issue is there and you're not sure why it's there, or you're concerned it may return in the future, then that's a good case for having a CAPA. The second most important thing you need to do is identify the seriousness and the impact of this risk. You know, is a patient going to be harmed? If that's the case, you need to raise field safety correction actions, ship holds, you need to maybe quarantine some of your products and keep them. So you need to decide how much of an impact is this. Once you're there and you've decided that you want to have a CAPA, you then raise it to your management and you say, look, these are my findings. I want to raise a CAPA. And then they will then decide, is this worthy of having a CAPA or is it not worthy of having a CAPA? If they decide it's worthy of having CAPA, you have a unique version, a unique number given to it, and then you start your CAPA from there on, basically. And then from there on, we go to step 2. This is one of the most important steps, is you need to gather your resources and see what your immediate actions are. So you need to identify who are the people involved, what process are involved, are there any specific procedures, and you need to make sure that you have a diverse group. So you can't just have the quality manager and leave him to it. That's not going to work. You need to have people that are involved from start to finish. So if it's a process problem, you need to have the lab staff there, you need to have production staff, R&D, all together. So you've got different viewpoints, because a quality manager is going to see it from one point of view, other members of staff are going to see it from different point of view. So you need their input. So like mentioned there, you need a cross-functional team to do this. And again, like I touched on earlier, are there any immediate actions you need to take? Are there any recalls, ship holds, or any quarantine of any products that needs to occur? Number 3,
so just one thing, maybe just to explain to people. So those 2 steps are some of the most difficult steps, if I can say. not that people have to think that it's easy to do that. So with my experience, just opening a CAPA is really already difficult when you have to talk with your team, to talk with your management. Do I need to open a CAPA? Yes, but if I open a CAPA, it will maybe be an issue for our metrics. Maybe we don't need that. I don't have the resource. I mean, there is a lot of questions that people are asking, but you have to understand that if there is an issue, you have to solve it. So opening a CAPA is really, if I can say, necessary and mandatory, if I can say, within your quality management system. But this is one of the first things, is difficult to open a CAPA. Then gather your resource is also difficult, because I will show you a cartoon afterwards, but it's really difficult to have everybody jumping in and coming to help you for this CAPA. So it's why a bit of education about CAPA is really important for doing that. I just have a comment here from Breda regarding her experience in terms of preventive CAPAs, preventive actions. So she said mainly it's poorly understood in the industry. The term CAPA is used incorrectly to describe response to non-conformities. Industry doesn't differentiate correctly between CA and PA. So they can say corrective action, preventive action. And this is why here, for example, when you are opening a CAPA, as you mentioned, you are waiting that a problem is arriving. So then you are opening this corrective action, which is painful, because you know there is a problem and you have now to really solve it. When you have a preventive action, it's more like, okay, we think that we'll have a problem soon, but we have maybe a bit of time to think about it and to solve it, etc. When here it's more an urgency, we have the problem that already occurred, so there is no question, you have to go and solve it. So yeah, those 2 steps are already really difficult in terms of management. After, it starts to be a bit more easy, but we can also make some mistakes after that. So third step.
Now, this is the one which is quite painful to see in some companies, unfortunately. This is the one that if you get it right, your CAPA process will go through smoothly, and that is root cause analysis. This is the key, and that's why it's been highlighted in red. If you get this one right, your CAPA cannot go wrong. It's not just that, but the thing is, if you don't get the right root cause, you're going to fix a problem for something that's not causing the problem. So you're going to create this CAPA, you're going to create this corrective action plan, and it's just not going to work. So if you have an area that you need to decide where to invest the most time for your CAPA, it is the root cause analysis. And use appropriate tools. That's the way around it. Ishikawa, 5 Whys, FMEA.
And we'll make a certain example here where we use this tool in 2 different ways, and to show you that the same tool can provide 2 different results, if I can say.
And another thing as well with 5 Whys, it doesn't have to be 5 Whys. You can have 6 Whys, you can have 7 Whys. It's just the name of the term. If you feel that you have to ask why more times, go ahead. It's only going to impress the auditor that you're actually going above and beyond. And from that, you need to identify what are the items to review. Is it your standard operating procedures? Is it your training plans? And the key to finding out what needs to be fixed is, again, I'll touch on, is an appropriate root cause analysis. Once you've got your root cause, everything will be clear in terms of what you actually need to work on. Following from that, we come to our corrective action plan. So we now found our root cause. We now found out, is it an SOP? Is it training procedures? It's all clear. Firstly, we need to check if any of the changes we are going to make are going to affect the safety and performance of the device as per your risk-based approach. We do not want to bring any extra harm to anybody, and we don't want to introduce something that's going to change the device in any shape or form that could cause more potential for harm. So examples of this could be amending procedures, retraining, new suppliers, different storage requirements, etc. Number 5, this is another more important one, is verification of effectiveness of your corrective action. There's no use just putting a corrective action plan in place and then just saying, yep, it works, 2 weeks later, close off the CAPA, then the issue arises again. What you need to do is allocate enough time, a few weeks, months, even years if you need to, and you need to have some sort of measurable data to say that, this corrective action is working. You need to set your verification requirements. And what is your management sort of measurement criteria? Is that the amount of complaints coming in? Is the amount of recalls, the amount of scrap materials, etc.? So you need to set what those parameters actually are. And then the final step, of course, is once you're happy with what everything's gone through, you've verified everything works, is a management review and closure. So you gather up all of your documentation, you show this to your management saying, look, this was our root cause analysis, this was our corrective action plan, and most importantly, these are the paperwork that I have and the verification to prove that it works. And at that point, you can close the CAPA and you can relax if you've done it properly.
Yeah, you can celebrate, but it's really a long journey. If you make it correctly, CAPA is not like a 2 weeks or 3 weeks project. It can be, as you said, a 1 year project, 2 years. I had CAPAs that were 2 years because the actions to put in place were really long and the results were not found immediately, or the investigation didn't find immediately everything. So it can be really, really long. I have here some information or some discussion. So yeah, here it says, for example, Jacek said, to get people on board, it is better if a CAPA is open internally than external auditor. So it's a good point. So usually what we are trying is to find our issues internally during an audit or any things, and to raise a CAPA so that we also show to an auditor that we have find the issue, we know about it, and we are trying to solve it. Because if it's an external auditor that find the issue that you didn't find or you didn't open a CAPA, then it will raise a non-conformity, and it can be a major non-conformity also. So it's important that when you are going through this process, you are also thinking that let's find the issues of our company before an auditor that finds that for us, because the consequences can be worse on that. What else? Yeah. So thank you for that. So the next thing is the timeline. So as you had also some CAPAs, Karen, so for me, as I said, one was 2 years. So did you have the same impression, or in terms of timeline for CAPAs?
Yeah, I mean, I've had CAPAs that last 30 days, CAPAs that last months. The longest CAPA I've ever had, I think it did last about a year. So yeah, it can vary quite a lot.
So I think, as we said here, gather your resources and have a team is also something important. So you should not just give that to one person and think that he will solve everything. It's really a teamwork also, and we'll talk about that afterwards. One thing that I wanted also to show, and it's why we talked about timeline, is the different timelines for a CAPA. So a CAPA is there is step 1, as we showed you, step 2, step 3, etc. There is some important milestones that you have also to gather here. So usually, as soon as you identify an issue, you should immediately open a CAPA. I mean, if it's worth to have a CAPA, to open a CAPA directly. So normally here it should be like day 0, if I can say. Maybe day +1, if I can say, if you find it the previous day and open it the next day. Then when you open the CAPA, the idea is to say, I have to finalize my investigation, to have my investigation done, to find what is the issue, and then to identify all the actions that should be executed. So usually what we have is that between the identification of the issue and the investigation, we have to define a certain timeline. Because why? Because if there was an issue, maybe this issue will continue. So it's not something that maybe will be solved. For example, we have, as we discussed, we have the step where we identify the issue. we have a second step where we are also putting in place a correction, not a corrective action, but a correction. So we correct the issue, but if we have not solved the problem, the issue can still happen. So it's why you have to give here some short time, if I can say, to make the investigation and find the action plan here. And the standards, if I can say, because there is nothing specifically written on the regulation, but you have to define that on your industry. And the standard is that I was using is mainly 30 to 45 days. So as soon as the CAPA is open, you have 30 to 45 days to finalize your investigation and to have your action plan already planned and approved by your management. This can take longer. It's not like 45 days is the standard. As I said, it can take longer because maybe you need a laboratory to make some tests on your material. Maybe you need some investigation done by other experts and they are not available now, etc. So, but you have to have a justification why maybe you are extending to more than 45 days. And it should be also mentioned on your procedures. So what you are accepting and not accepting, because the auditor will also check that, okay, the CAPA is open. When what are the different timelines for each phase? So do you have also the 30 to 45 days currently for that, or?
Yeah, it's a reasonable period. The reason being, the person that you're looking for who's part of the team may be on holiday. So it's reasonable to have a 30 to 45 day period because it allows for time for people to not be present, because it's hard to get 5 or 6 different teams together. It may be the case you get 3 people together and then the next week you get the next 3. So 30 to 45 days is a good compromise.
One thing that also I noticed with my experience is the fact that even if you give 30 to 45 days, they will wait the last minute to to do everything. So I call that the student syndrome. So it's like you have to deliver something by next month. So you are waiting the last night and you spend the whole night to do all that. And it's mainly what is happening sometimes. I mean, I have the experience on that with some of my companies, and it's something that is really really interesting to see. So sometimes what I was doing at one point is to define also some intermediary steps where it's kind of a thermometer to say, yes, we'll be able to meet the 45 days, or no, we cannot, because they are at this stage, they didn't already pass the 3 or 4 intermediary steps. So it's something like that. Then from the point that you have the action plan to finalize your implementation, what should we put here?
Sorry, say that again, Benier.
So from the investigation to the implementation plan, so what should we put normally?
Usually I would say up to a year is a reasonable time period for this.
Yeah, so what I put here is less than 1 year, but it can be more. So as I said, there is no standard, something that is really, you have to define that, but less than 1 year is maybe a good thing. So it's the time that you have, for example, to put in place all your actions, to close them and to have them confirm that they are really done. And afterwards, there is a step, which is the effectiveness monitoring, that I saw some companies that were missing that. They don't have that, or it's a poor effectiveness monitoring. It's not like a really good one. So effectiveness monitoring is really that you are checking that the action that you put in place had no impact on the rest of your system, or is not worse, or did really solve the issue. So this is what you have to check. So here you have also to give it some time. So for example, if you close this now and you say, oh, I will do an effective check in 1 week, I mean, it makes no sense. Maybe in 1 week you will never had this case again, or you never had enough time to check that. So it's why you have to give a proper time. So sometimes what we are doing is that we are saying, if we find something during an audit, for example, we say, okay, we'll check this during next audit. And if in next audit we don't find it, then we close the CAPA. But in reality, the CAPA time is really the time from the to identify the issue to the finalization of the implementation. The effectiveness monitoring is just to really confirm that everything is fine. So here I put also less than 1 year. So you can see that, as I said, a CAPA can take really a lot of time, and it's why also it's a bit difficult, because if you don't give the right resources to the people that are having this CAPA open, if I can say, it can be really a problem. Okay, some other points here. Yeah, here I have the same comments from Vidya, which is a lot of repeat findings are caused by lack of effectiveness of the CAPA, which links to RCA again. So have you already failed once, or one of your CAPA failed already at effectiveness monitoring?
Yeah, it does happen. But then at the same time, if you recognize that it's failed, you can do something about it. If you close it off before that, you're never going to know. So that's the purpose of this step. It's not a problem if it fails. That's when you go back to the previous step and you make your changes.
Exactly. Yeah, because people think that because we have to show a good effectiveness monitoring because for our KPIs, but to be honest, don't look really at KPIs. I call that the watermelon effect. So it's green outside, but reality, if you go deep, it's all red. So it's something that is not working correctly. So yeah, a question maybe here for you, Karandip. So how to decide due date for a corrective action?
It's an estimated date. So the way that I've gone about CAPAs and the way I put it on the form is an estimated date. So for example, is it to do with a customer complaint? It's reasonable to have maybe a few months there because it may take a few months for your product to be there. Your product could be sitting on a shelf somewhere. Maybe, hundreds and hundreds of customers are using it and then one of them has that problem. So in terms of what the problem is how you decide what the due date is. If it's an internal issue, maybe you can do it a lot more quickly. If it's an external issue from a customer, then I would allocate more time to it. So it depends where the issue actually lies.
And it's also something that we'll talk about just after. It's about risk level. If the CAPA is really high risk, then try to solve the issue as quick as possible. But it's also what I see. There is a lot of people that have some kind of they are really positive and they want to solve it quickly and this and that, and they say, okay, let's make it within 1 week. But after 1 week, they haven't solved anything, and they say, okay, let's extend the next week, and they extend the next week, and then after, oh, let's extend the next week again because we didn't finalize that. So it's really showing really a poor quality management system or poor CAPA system because you are always extending. So the idea is really to be really honest with yourself, with your management, with your team, to say, please, team, how much time you think we can do that? And to have really a proper thinking and not just to be pressed by the urgency or this stuff. You have to solve an issue, so give it the time, give it the thing. I like some videos that I'm seeing also on LinkedIn showing somebody that is doing an artist that is painting or drawing kind of like a Spider-Man. If you give him 1 hour, he will draw that. If you give him 10 seconds, 1 minute, he will draw that. And if you give him 10 seconds, he will draw that. And you see the result that if you don't give enough time to some actions, it will not work at all. And people can be demotivated also. If you say, oh, we did do it within 1 week and you cannot, after 1 week, they can start to be demotivated because they say, oh, we are not able to do that. And it's not really showing a good system. So give it the time. Don't press if there is no really urgency, and people have really to provide you the right assumption in terms of how long they need really to close that, because yeah, it's for an auditor, it's really also showing some poor quality CAPA system if you are showing always that you are extending the due dates. Yeah, I like the comment from Robert Van Boxer, which says corrective action shall be taken without undue delay. So it's why I'm saying that as soon as you have an issue, you have to open it immediately. So it's not something that normally you have to think about a lot of time. If you really identify that the issue is existing and it is there, so you should not take a lot of time. We had this problem also with some, as I've said, with some companies or some management that were saying, okay, let's give us maybe 1 week to think about it and this and that. And the idea is, I mean, you already lost 1 week of investigation, 1 week of action, 1 week of things. So did you have this kind of also experience with some management that were trying to delay the opening of a CAPA?
Yeah, they do, because the issue with CAPA is they just see it as like a burden. It's not really something that they want to do. It's something that consumes a lot of time. It takes people away from, others that will be considered profit-making activities. So it can be a little bit difficult to get the team together.
Exactly, yeah. So it's why it's important that you are educating also the management to explain, here is what is written, that you have to open it, and you should not wait. And that you should put the resources needed, if I can say, to solve those issues. Okay, so let's move now. Next step is the KPI. So I try to give you some idea of KPI. So it's not like this is the KPI to use, but this is an ID of a KPI. Let's talk, for example, about timeliness. So timeliness is the time between the time you open the CAPA and the time you finalize your investigation and provide, for example, the action plan that you have to do. For example, what we can do as a KPI is to say we have the total number of CAPAs that are in this timeliness period and how many CAPAs are late. So are more than, for example, we talked about 45 days. So if we say 45 days is the date, so if there are more than 45 days, so for example, we have 3 CAPAs that were it's the inverse. How many were not late? Sorry, how many were not late? So we just change that. So we have maybe, if we have 10 CAPAs, we have maybe 7 CAPAs that are not late and 3 that are late. And so it can give you a number, a percentage here. So for example, if the timeliness is at more than 95%, we are good. If it's between 75 and 95%, so we are in average, if I can say. And if it's below 75%, we are bad. And we can have also that for aging, for example, how long the CAPA, the duration of the total duration of the CAPA. We can have that for the effectiveness monitoring to say how much, how effective is our actions. Because if the effectiveness is really low, it means that each time we have an effectiveness monitoring, we are failing, so it's not good also. So this is kind of examples. And if you are looking at that through a kind of a monthly dashboard, you can have this kind of thing. It says a timeliness, for example, for January, February, March, April, etc. And you can see, if I can say, when it's red, yellow, or green, or green, and to identify quickly where potentially you have some issues. For example, here you have 73% in timeliness in March and April. Let's say, to take the excuse that it was because of the pandemic, so people were not coming to the office. So it's why we didn't have the time, or we didn't have the possibility to move forward within those CAPAs, because mainly, it was a pandemic issue, so it's fine. But for example, when you have 3 times the same red instance, it's also a signal, it's a trend. So you have to identify what are your actions when you have those kind of trends. So it's also something that people have to plan and put that on their procedures to say, in case I have a trend of 3 times red, here is my action. Maybe the action is to make an investigation. Maybe an action is to open a CAPA. Maybe an action is, I don't know. So you have also to identify those trends and to put that in place. I will just do something quickly. I will just change that to CAPA not late. Just to be sure that it's caught on camera and people are not saying to me, oh, Munir, it's wrong. So, okay, let's go back. Okay, so are you using other KPIs, Karandeep?
Yeah, so in my case, I don't necessarily go as complex as this, but again, timeliness, that is a key KPI for me. You know, that's the one that I tend to monitor at most. You know, the last thing you want is a CAPA that's open for 3 years, because then the auditor is going to question you, goes, why is this the case? And then at the same time, if we're solving CAPAs in 1 week, at the same time, the auditor is going to think, how are you able to do this? So that is a key thing that you need to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, you should. It should be obvious, if I can say. It should not be like it should be normal, if I can say, that you really put the effort, you put the resources, you put everything there to have your CAPA done correctly. Because yeah, the auditor will not check only one CAPA; they will check 2, 3, 4, 5, 11, etc. If you have more. So we'll talk also about the fact to underuse or overuse CAPA. So it's also something that we have there. The CAPA team. So can you present the CAPA team, Karandeep?
Yes. So the first job, which nobody openly volunteers for, is the CAPA owner. Usually somebody like me who works in quality. Yeah. So that's the person who's in charge, and he's the one who's leading the CAPA. They're the ones who have the biggest job of getting the team together. So that's the most important role here. That's the person who owns it and has to take full ownership of whether it goes well or whether it goes wrong. So it's a very important role here. Following that, we have the activity owner or the subject matter expert. Now, it's not always the quality person here. You know, if this is a process-related issue or it's a production-related issue, there's going to be a subject matter expert in that company. It could be one of your lab staff, but you need someone who understands whatever that process is that you're looking into inside out, basically, because they're the person you're going to be speaking to.
But one thing, so as you mentioned, it's not only always the quality person, because I have some experience with some departments that think, oh, a CAPA is for quality, so quality has to be the CAPA owner, they have to be the SMEs, they have to do everything. And I mean, if there is an issue with a machine that breaks down, I mean, maybe a quality person is not really the person to tell you how to fix that or how to solve the issues or this or that. I mean, it's more the SME or the specialist that can do that. Quality can help you, can support you, and can move forward. But at the end, you should not really consider CAPA only the tool or to be used by a quality department. And this is also the mistake that some companies are doing. They are thinking, oh, it's a CAPA, let's give that to the quality department, which is not really the best way to do it.
Yes, so following that, we have the approvers. So these are the people that review the CAPA and confirm that this is correct. Again, the quality person will be there, but you'll also have members of management involved in this process as well. So it could be one person, it could be multiple people. In many cases, it's multiple people. And then following that, you have your management meeting, which again is your top line management level staff. So you might have your production managers, your quality managers all together who will sit down and decide, okay, we're going to have this CAPA. What are the next steps? What do we need to do? How much time do we need to allocate? Who are the people involved? And how are we going to go about opening and closing it? So, and the most important thing is that all these people need to be trained on the CAPA process. You cannot just pick up one person from the company and says, yep, we're going to start doing CAPAs. No, they don't have to be experts in CAPAs, but they all need appropriate training.
Yeah, I had some experience with some management that say, oh, let's give this CAPA to this person, but the person was not trained at all for CAPA. So the person was trying to do their best, but at the end, they don't really understand what was expected from them on this. So yeah, I don't think a CAPA is just something that to give to anybody. You have to have trained staff. So what I'm doing, usually when I'm working for a company, I'm asking that many people are trained within different departments. So many people are trained on CAPA, because when I arrive to some companies, it's only quality people that are trained on CAPAs and nobody else. So it's why mainly they say, oh, it's not our job, it's the job of quality. But you have to involve some people from engineering, from production, from marketing, from everything that have also some knowledge of what is a CAPA, because if you are alone, you will not succeed. So you have really to have a team. And we think we have also some experience or some comments that we provide about the CAPA team. Okay, just looking quickly if there is some other question or other points. KPI, Key Performance Index. For me, I always call it Key Performance Indicator, but I don't know if it's the official definition of KPI, Key Performance Index. I don't know, but for me, it's Key Performance Indicator. So yeah, but I suppose it can be both. As I've said, CAPA for logistic person means capacity, so it's why it's not always easy to talk the same language between different departments when they are using the same acronyms. Okay, what else? Yeah, nothing else. So thank you for that. Okay, so let's now make an example of this. And Karandeep, you choose the example. So
okay.
I don't know if it's something that you had, but here is the example.
Okay, so
go ahead.
Okay, ready to go then. So we call this CAPA step 1 and 2. So that diagram that we showed earlier, identify the issue and getting your team together, that is what we have here in front of us. So just a bit of a background of what the hypothetical scenario actually is. So for this example, we're using a contact lens. A contact lens is currently a Class 2A medical device under MDR. So we have just received a customer complaint. So how do we identify the issue? It came from the customer complaint. A customer complained that they received a contact lens and they ordered one with a blue tint, but found that unfortunately it had an orange tint. All the other parameters were perfectly fine with the lens. So we go back here right now. How do we spot this issue? So this issue was identified via a customer complaint. We have our customer complaint number there, which we have logged on our system. And it was issued on February the 5th, 2020. And it was registered by us the following day, February the 6th, 2020, which is a 24-hour turnaround period. So bounding. So the only reference
just one thing, just to be to explain to people, you have to be as precise as possible. When, where, how, etc. So to provide as much information as possible, because maybe in 6 months or 1 year time, when you will look at this CAPA, maybe during an audit, for example, the auditor will maybe ask you a question. If you didn't capture all the information, you can be in trouble, because you say, okay, you don't really gather everything, so it's difficult to understand all the background and the process. So it's why gathering those details about the date, about the numbers, about the people, about the names, about this is really important, because when you will go in 1 year for your notified body audit. Then you'll have all the detail and you remember really correctly everything.
I completely agree with you. I've sat in audit rooms and they say, okay, this was the product affected. Go and find me the customer complaint. Go and find me this. The beauty of reference numbers is you just type it in on the computer and it comes out in front of you. If you don't log these, you're going to be sitting through a year's worth of paperwork, and yeah, it's not going to look good at all.
And you can really lose a lot of time during an audit, and you can also show to the auditor that you are not really managing well your quality management system, because at the end, he asks you a simple question, you maybe take 30 minutes, 1 hour to just find an answer, which is also showing poor CAPA system.
Right, so in terms of the product, so we've identified here, it was only one product and only one unit of that order. So no other products are impacted. That's what we want to see first. How many products are impacted? It's just the one in this case. So do we need to contain them? Since that no other products, had this issue, this is the only complaint that we had, it seems in this case that we don't. Is it CAPA worthy? Yes or no? In my opinion, yes. This is something that we need to look into because the order was processed incorrectly. In this case, it was a minor issue, but maybe if it was a different parameter that could have affected someone's vision, it could have been a lot more serious. So this is something that's very important that we need to look into. And what is the seriousness of the impact? So the device itself remained in an unopened state. It posed no risk to the end user. It was a different color. It wasn't opened. It wasn't used by them. So it's a very low impact issue at this case. So what immediate action do we need to take straight away? We need to send a replacement lens to that person. So the one with the correct tint, the blue tint, or if it's not available, we provide them with a refund or a credit for next time. Also, we need to inform the employees working in the area that this issue actually happened. So everybody who's involved in the process from start to finish in terms of ordering, and tell them to remain careful while this CAPA process is actually going on.
Yeah, because I think it's also important. Communication is also important with this process, is the fact that you know about an issue. You should not just keep it for you like a secret. You should also inform others, because while you are doing the investigation, the objective is not to create more issues, to have other people that maybe didn't get the message or didn't understood this issue or didn't get the fact that something like that happened, and maybe we'll recreate the issue for a second complaint, a third complaint, a fourth complaint, because more you are waiting for the investigation to find the root cause, more there is a chance also that the issue can happen again. So, and just to answer to one question from Steven Verbost, it says, we have a maximum of 3 months for investigation. Will that be too long? So, as I said, there is no kind of standard for that, but it depends. For me, it will depend really on the risk of this issue. If it's something that means that during these 3 months, as I've said, the issue can still happen, then maybe it's too long. For me, 30 to 45 days is kind of an average. But if your company decides 3 months because they have a good understanding or they know why they put 3 months and there is a justification for 3 months, then maybe it can be accepted. But you have to understand that it means that during 3 months, the issue can happen every day, or I don't know what is the issue, but it can happen every day, and then you can have more issues or more occurrence of this issue in the following months or the following year. So it's also something that you have to be aware of and to justify why then 3 months is acceptable for you. Because maybe on certain cases 3 months is fine, but maybe on some other cases it should be really immediately identified. And the risk level, which we'll also discuss at one point, will show you that it's really a high risk, so it should be immediately closed. When it's maybe a medium or low risk, it can maybe take more time for that. Okay. Investigation.
So here we have it, our investigation tools. So my favorite here, 5 whys. Like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't have to be 5 specific whys. You can have 6 whys, you can have 10 whys. Ask this question as much as you need to. The reason why you keep asking why is you're trying to break down what is the root cause, and which is something that we will touch on too.
Ishikawa, so just for the 5 whys, it reminds me my kids when they are asking why this, why that, etc. Even if I answer, but why? It's exactly that. So why? It's a bit painful, I know, because as I said, if you have kids, you know that each time they ask you why 10 times, it's like a bit a burden. But this is exactly the same exercise. Why this, why that, to go really deeply on this process.
Yeah, I agree. That's a brilliant analogy. Imagine you're a child and just keep asking why, and then you get to the root cause of why that is actually the case. Exactly. Of course, here we have our more complex ones. We have Ishikawa. which is another one, and we also have Burrito as well. But it's important to understand these are not the only 3 tools that you can use. These are the most common ones. They're very well known, but there are many other different tools that you can actually use in order to go about doing this.
So Ishikawa, you can also say it's the fishbone diagram. So it's nearly I mean, it looks like a fish, so it's why it's like that. But yeah, it's really powerful tools. I mean, I use those tools also for my CAPAs for investigation. But it's a tool is just one tool, but you have maybe to aggregate many tools or a system of tools, if I can say, to really solve an issue and to find the answer. And these are some of those that we do. And we'll do an example with the 5 ways. Okay, so I will ask you the questions and you will answer.
Okay.
Okay. Why did this happen?
Why did this happen? A member of staff involved in the ordering process selected the wrong color in the ordering software that we use.
Okay. Why did they choose the wrong color?
The system software uses a drop-down bar system with different colors, and the blue and the orange are right next to each other. So it seems like in this case, they clicked the wrong one by accident.
Okay, but why do we use a Dropbox system? A drop-down.
We're using an updated version of this software. Previously, we used to have to manually type, and we've now just started to use drop-down box systems.
Okay, why are we not manually typing?
This is how the software was provided to us. Nobody in the ordering process has complained or asked us to amend this.
So why have we not updated the software to allow for manual typing instead?
We have not spoken to management about it. It seems like this is a problem. They don't like it, but in this case, nobody actually reported this to management that they didn't actually like the system.
Okay, so what can we say about the root cause then?
So the root cause of this problem is the new software, which now uses the drop-down option rather than previously, which was manually typed as we've done in the past. It seems that the member of staff accidentally clicked on the wrong Dropbox, even though they had the right intention. So the root cause here is this new version of the software.
Okay, so here is an example of how you use that. But as Karandip said, you can maybe stop at the 3rd why, or you can go to 6, 7, 8, etc. But the objective is really to go doing a deep dive on the problem. What is really the source of the problem, and not just go to the high level, if I can say, and say, okay, I find an issue, then I will solve it through that. No, go really deep to find really the source of the issue, so that maybe you can really solve this problem forever. So it's not like just solving that this time and it will reappear again. What we had also is to evaluate the risk. When we are doing this investigation, when we are finding, if I can say, the potential issue, we are evaluating the risk. What is the risk? So we have, here are, for example, 3 levels of risk, but you can have more or you can have different. So we have low risk, which is more, for example, for a preventive action. There was no occurrence for now, so it's more, each time we have preventive action, we can rate that as a low risk. We have medium risk, which is corrective action. It is the minor products or quality management system impact, so it's not like major. And high risk corrective action, so it's major product and quality system impact. For example, on this case that we are talking about today, we can say that it is a medium risk. So it's not like a major impact, major risk for the system. It's really a medium risk. So what is the action plan that we think or assume can solve this issue?
Okay, so there's many different ways of going about it. But today, I'll be discussing with you, in my opinion, what I think is how I would best go about it. So what can we do to prevent this error in the future? That's the key here, what we're trying to get. So we need to put in place a temporary additional check, the 4 eyes principle. It's the idea being that there's 4 different eyes looking at it rather than 2 different eyes. A second person as a sense check to make sure that the order matches to what is actually delivered in the end. We can hire a temporary employee. We can bring in an extra member of staff while this investigation is going on. That's the first action we need to take while we're actually solving this problem. Action number 2 is we need to initiate a project. So we need to get everyone together and work out how do we go about updating the software, Again, how do we go back to the manually type-based system rather than a drop-down box? And of course, if we're going to update the software, we also need to look into software validation too, because that's an important point. Action 3 is we need to update the SOP to now actually state that we are manually typing, so we can revert back to our old version if that's the case, and when this will actually be corrected. Number 4, this is the most important one. We need to train the employees. We can't just put a new SOP out and a new piece of software and say, guys, go for it. We need to update it. We need to make sure everybody understands. Because important people learn from their mistakes. We're not going to penalize that employee for actually making this mistake. He's highlighted a problem to us and we're fixing it for them. So this is not a disciplinary action. And action 5, of course, is we need to verify that all of these actions of this CAPA were implemented and are actually working.
Yeah, this action 5, so before I was not used to have that, but I saw that it's really powerful because mainly we think that because we close action 1, we close action 2, we close action 3, etc., it's fine. But we have always maybe action 5 is another person that is checking that all the action, the first action were done correctly and closed correctly and the information inside is correct. Is because, yeah, we have really to verify that all the action are done correctly before we can move to the next step. And then we have the safety check.
Yep, safety check. So like I mentioned earlier on, is this corrective action going to affect the safety or the performance of the device? The answer is no. We're just changing an ordering process. The device is completely unaffected and it's not going to lead to any changes in terms of the actual device and how it works. So that's the first check that we need to do, safety first. That's fine. Then from there, we need to go on to effectiveness monitoring. It's all good that we put these actions in place. They sound fantastic, but we need to monitor that they're actually working. So we need to put some parameters in place. That be the measurement of lenses with incorrect parameters, whether that's through complaints, whether that's through internal checks before they're sent out. They say, hold on a minute, something's not right here. This doesn't match the order. Also periodic checks or surprise checks. That could be me just walking in, watching the ordering staff sitting there, see how they go about doing their orders, see if there's any issues. And also including this check into future internal audits as well. So we make it part of our internal audit plan. We now update it that this was an issue in the past and we make it as a check in the future. And we keep amending it where necessary if this error continues, which hopefully it doesn't. And the best part of the CAPA, of course, is the final step, which is closure. This is the point where you can celebrate your CAPA closure. It maybe took you 1 year to fix this, but this is the key stage here.
And so the whole process, as we said, will take really a lot of time. What will be maybe difficult is the fact that you arrive until the end at effectiveness monitoring and you find that you fail, so you have to restart from a certain point. So it's why we are saying try to really follow a clear process, try to give time to some actions, try to give some trainings to people to really do that correctly, because the objective is really to close the CAPA and to say, yes, we have solved really the problem. But yeah, as we said, we also see some effectiveness monitoring that are not going through. So, but it's the game, so you should not give up and say, oh, we didn't go through, so we stop here. No, you have really to think again, what can be the action and that. And we know, because I'm also working with some management, we know that it's also difficult for management. They will ask you why you failed, why you have not put the effort, why this, why that. But yeah, it's something that also management have to understand. People are trying to put their effort to solve the issue, but maybe there was some learning to have here, some training or some maybe more resources to provide. So it's also something that management has to understand. But you have really to give the time to the time and not to rush on a solution where maybe it's not the right one. And we have an example for that. What are the common issues for CAPA? So let me check quickly if there is something else on the... yes, something... I know this person. So I have Laurent Besson. I know him because he was working with me. And he was one of the CAPA trainer, so my organization. So a CAPA owner equal to owner of the process that have the issue. It's true that, yeah, as I said, we try to sometimes open the CAPA and to give that to a person that is completely stranger to the process where the CAPA happened. No, if the CAPA happened to a certain department, it's this department that has really to solve the issue, and with the support, as you mentioned, also of a quality expert. So it's also something that is really important. The expert of the process has to solve the issue, and don't give that to a person external to the process, because maybe they will not find the right problem. They will also find a solution that is maybe not adapted at all to your department. So it's also something that is really important. So thank you, Florent, for this thing. Scope issue. Okay, so a question from Breda, which says, would you add in an extra step to scope out the issue? In other words, to check if the same issue could occur elsewhere, or is it just an isolated issue? This could be part of the root cause analysis. Yeah, it's true. So do you have that also on your process? I have that in my process. So are you just checking to this issue, or are you checking if this can occur also to other places on your organization, for example, this type of issue?
Yeah, so I'm checking, like I mentioned here, with the ordering process. It was just to do with the tint, but we'd also look into other factors too, things like parameters, other parts of the ordering process. So we change it for everything rather than just one thing at all. And another important thing that we need to look at for CAPAs as well, we need to do a bit of a past history check. Has this issue occurred in the past 2-3 years
Yeah,
ago, etc., of what changes were made?
True. And what said Breda is mainly that sometimes you are moving them to the preventive action because some of the issues never happen. So you open now a preventive action because maybe it can happen. And as you mentioned also, trending is also important. So when you are opening a CAPA, you have also to check that the CAPA didn't already occur maybe 3 years ago or 4 years ago, etc. Because if it occurred already, it can be helpful also because you already have put in place an action plan, you have put in place something, and you can understand that it's not working. So don't need to go again to the same route, to the same journey when you see that the action that was put in place was not working. Or maybe the action that was put in place was working partially, and you have to add maybe some other things to that so that it can work better. So having the history check of the CAPA is also a key point here. Okay, so common issues. Sales and marketing. If I let my quality department know of this issue, it may affect my ability to sell. So what do you think about this one?
Yes, so salespeople, they're very, how many units can we sell? How much profit can we make? If they spot an issue, they think, oh no, currently it's going to pull my product off the market. I'm not going to tell him about it. That's an issue that you face with sales teams. They'd much rather hide the issue so they can keep making profit.
So as I've said, and maybe some sales and marketing people should also think about that. The question I'm always asking myself for this is, would I give these products to a member of my family? So at the end, if you are, as a sales and marketing person, can look yourself in the mirror and say, yes, it's fine, this product is fine, and can put that on the market. So it's between yourself, I can say. But at the end, yeah, the thing is, be conscious that those products are going to some patients. And if there is an issue, maybe it's a small issue with one patient, but maybe it can be a big issue for another patient. So we have really to report the issues as much as possible. And as we said, it's better that the issue is reported internally than that it's found by an external auditor, which can be worse. So it's also your interest to report the issue, even if I know maybe it can reduce your KPIs, you can damage your KPIs, but at the end, yeah, the objective is really to provide some compliant products to the market. So yeah, be understanding that. Next one, production staff. If I report this issue, I will not be able to meet my production target for this week. It is only a minor issue, so not worth the hassle. So what do you think?
It happens, you know, if you're production staff and they say to you, you need to make 250 units this week and this is your target for it, they start to think, oh, if there's a problem here, they're going to pull this off. I can't meet my target. I might get disciplinary action against me. But that's incorrect. You know, if there's a CAPA open, everybody in management knows about this. So if you don't meet your target for that week, that's fine. We know that there's a CAPA open. It's not your fault. It's basically our fault because we opened the CAPA.
Yeah, and I think it reminds me of an episode we had together on the medical device school where we said why people are hiding information to their staff, to the quality staff. So mainly, this is one of the things to say. We are trying to hide information because it will impact us. So let's not talk to our quality department, or let's not tell them what is happening, and let's try to solve that without them, so that we can go for that. So yeah, it's a problem. Next one, quality department.
Yeah, so that's me. Question that I always ask is, why was this not reported to me beforehand? If you saw this issue weeks and weeks ago, why are you telling me now when it's too late?
Exactly. Yeah, so sometimes they are waiting that the issue grows and is bigger and bigger and bigger before to really report that to everybody. So it's also something that's happening. So it's not deserving you. So it's really a problem for all the company, for you, for your team, for everybody. So yeah, be careful with that. The last one, all other departments. If a CAPA is raised with my name on it, I will be punished by management. Okay, so yeah, it's what we talked about before. People are associating CAPA with punishment, which they should not. If I change, for example, the word CAPA to a project, for example, I will give you the lead of a project, then it sounds like marketing, and the marketing way it sounds good. But when we are associating project with a team, we are associating project with budget, and we should do the same for a CAPA. As soon as my name is on a CAPA, it means that I will have some resources, some team, and some work where I can solve this issue. And this is the negative thing about CAPA, is to say each time we have a CAPA, it's really negative. First, it's associated to an issue. It's something that management wants you to solve as quick as possible. And at the end, it's something that also auditors can find and can ask questions about. So it's why it raises all those questions. Should I open it? Should I not open it? What should I do? Should I give some resource, no resource, etc.? What is the CAPA for? So when some people are asking this question, you are in trouble, maybe, no? Karandip?
Yeah, sorry, repeat that for me, Munir.
No, I said, when people are asking what is the CAPA for, it means that you can be in trouble in your company. If they don't know what is the CAPA for, it's a problem.
It's not, people know the CAPA process, but it's kind of depending. So if you got somebody who just works in a lab or production, they may be questioned on CAPAs, but they don't necessarily see the paperwork or the documentation part of it. They don't understand the process in and out. So when somebody asks me that question, that tells me straight away in my head that I need to change the training process, because yes, they may never do a CAPA, but it's important that they know what it actually is.
Exactly. The idea is not specifically that you are an expert on doing CAPAs, it's to know that this tool exists and what it is for, and that when somebody says, oh, I have a CAPA for that, you know what it means, so that is really important. There's quality issues is not my, this is quality issue, it's not my responsibility. So it's what we said before. So mainly people are delegating that to quality. It's not my problem, it's a quality problem.
I completely agree with that. I mean, what they see the word CAPA and they go, oh, Karandip, here you are. That's it.
Yeah, so yeah, please change this culture within your companies, because CAPA is a problem for everybody. And as I've said, it should be really the department owner or the process owner that should be in charge of a CAPA with the support of quality, but it's mainly that. Okay, yeah, I had a funny cartoon about that. It's who wants to change? So everybody wants to who wants to change? Everybody wants to change. Who wants to change? Nobody wants to change. And when we are asking who wants to lead the change, then there is nobody anymore. So it's the same for a CAPA. People want to solve the issue, but nobody wants to change, if I can say, what they are doing to solve this issue. And at the end, when we are asking who is the CAPA owner, nobody is there. So let's move on that. So it's really it's caricature, but it's reality also on the companies. Okay, CAPA underuse and overuse. What can we say about that, Karandip?
So yeah, you can overuse a CAPA, you can underuse a CAPA, which might be confusing to some people because they start thinking, okay, so how many CAPA should we have? So first of all, we started talking about CAPA underuse. Don't wait for something to happen before you issue a CAPA. CAPA preventative action. That's the most important part that you need to look into. The process is all about being proactive and spotting issues before they arise and they escalate and become a serious problem. So if you're underusing CAPAs, that tells me straight away that you're not looking into proper investigation and you're not spotting issues as you should be doing. So not using the CAPA process is going to lead to a lot of non-conformities going unnoticed. And the day you have your audit is the day that you're going to spot them. And that's the worst day to have spotting of an issue basically on your audit day.
Yeah, and then I had some occurrence where we find the issue when we are doing for preparation for an audit. We find the issue before, but it's like 1 week before. So we open a CAPA 1 week before, and during the audit, the auditor picked this CAPA and they ask us why we opened this CAPA just 1 week before. And the main thing is to say, yes, mainly it's our process. We open CAPA as soon as we find an issue. So we find that 1 week before, and that's why we open that. But it's only one. If I open 10 CAPA 1 week before, then it really raises also some concern to an auditor to say, okay, what happened last week that you raised all those 10 CAPA? So it's also something that is, when usually you have maybe one per month or one every 2 months. So it's also something that you should be careful on. CAPA
and then from there on, we have CAPA overuse. So if you have too many CAPAs, straight away that says to me, it's either poor root cause analysis or poor corrective action. If you keep opening CAPAs again and again and again, it means that you're not doing them properly. So another thing as well is not every issue warrants a CAPA. So if it's a very minor issue and you raise a CAPA for it, you're wasting your time basically. So only raise CAPAs for things that need CAPAs raising for, and always have a proper root cause analysis and proper corrective action. So you're much better off having 10 CAPAs in the year done properly with proper root cause analysis and proper corrective action rather than 100 CAPAs that are done poorly.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to have a right balance between underuse and overuse. It's also to be conscious that yeah, it should be, if I can say, normal. You don't open a CAPA just to open a CAPA. Really make some thinking of it, but don't decide to not open a CAPA because maybe you have already too much. It's also something that people are thinking, oh, KPI, KPI, KPI. I have already 11 CAPA open. If I open a 12th one, then my KPI will be red. So don't think like that. Really think like the KPI is really to check if your system is working correctly or not. If it's red, it should be red. So it's not like you have to make it green. So show really the reality of your system, and you will benefit from that because you will see that maybe it's red now, but maybe in future it will be green because all the efforts that you have done now will be seen in future. Okay, so let's do another exercise. Now we are doing the 5 whys, but with the classic human error root cause. So it's exactly the same issue that we had. So it's exactly the same CAPA, the same problem that we identified, and we will go again through this root cause analysis, the 5 whys. But here we'll show you what happens in reality in some companies, because each time we are arriving to the conclusion it's a human error, and here is how we are doing that. So question number 1, why did this happen?
A member of staff involved in the ordering process selected the wrong color in the ordering software.
Okay, why did they choose the wrong tint color?
He didn't check it correctly.
Why did he not check it?
Because it was an employee that was not following during the training.
And why did he not follow during the training?
He's not focused enough on his job.
Okay, why he is not focused enough on his job?
He's a senior member of management.
So here it's like, again, an action to say, this is the fault of the person. She has not done correctly things, so we will do an awareness training again of this person. I mean, if you have already trained the person once, I don't know why a second time will help mainly. For me, what I'm trying to do is to use the human error root cause as really the last option possible. It should not be the first option that people are taking when they are doing that. They have to do many investigations to find really what is the real root cause of this issue. And as you've seen, the same problem, you can use the same tool, and if you do it correctly or not, you can find 2 different solutions. So at the end, you have 2 different action plans, which can lead to having the same issue again maybe next time. So it's why you have really to be careful with those tools. It's only tools. You have also to have the right philosophy behind all that, so to provide the right solution. Okay, reactive instead proactive.
Yep. So this is what you need to think ahead. Don't think now.
Yeah.
Don't think past. You need to think in the future. So why are you waiting for a problem to occur? You know, you're simply sitting there, you're waiting for a problem to occur. Go, okay, let's do a CAPA. Why not walk around your company, talk to your different team members, see where their pains are, see how you can help them. And just by doing something like that, you're going to spot potential issues. You say, okay, so maybe this SOP is not written correctly. If somebody misinterprets it, it can lead to this problem. Brilliant. You've now just formed yourself a CAPA. Instead, other people will just sit down and wait for that problem to happen and then solve the CAPA in the first place. The quicker you spot the issues, the easier it is for you to actually do your CAPA. And like I said before, CAPA is about being proactive. It's a powerful tool. And if you use it properly, it will benefit you a lot as a company. And have systems in place, you know, walk around your company, do random spot checks, have it as part of your internal audit, speak with your members of staff, you know, join them for their lunch, ask them what their problems are. You know, if you don't ask people, they're not going to provide you an answer. So you need to talk to your people.
But as I said, you have also to provide some kind of confidence, trust on your methodology and communication. The thing is, as we said, so some people are afraid of opening CAPA, some people are afraid of informing you about some issues, some people are, because they see some bad consequences. So this should go from top to down, if I can say, but at the end, you have also to show them why you are doing that, show them that you are helping them. What I'm seeing also in some companies is the fact that when there is an issue, the quality department is letting the process department, if I can say, where the issue happened, to try to solve the issue by themselves, and they are just here as a police judging what they have done as a work. The thing is that they should work together. So quality and the departments should work together to solve the issues, to move forward, and to explain why we are doing all those actions. And you will see it's working really correctly. If the culture is correct, all what we are saying to you now will be really providing a lot of value. But this has to really change in terms of mindset. People have really to understand why we are doing that, how we do that. For example, when we are saying that we are doing some checks before it happens, what I'm doing and what was doing is we call that Gamba works. So we are proactively planning a work with the process, the owner of the department. For example, in manufacturing, we are planning, for example, this on Thursday morning at 9 a.m. during 1 hour, and we are going and checking, and we have a checklist to say, let's check this, let's check that, etc., etc. And we do that with the process owner. I'm not the police. I'm not just coming here as a police and doing that just to find an issue and then to report to management, oh, this department is bad. No, I'm doing that with the process owner. We are working together. We are trying to find the issues, and then we are trying to solve them together. So it's also important to show that we are working together. We are in a team. We are not one against the other. I'm always making this comparison. I think I made a video about that. It's about the football team. You have one person that is in a goalkeeper. He has his own role. You have the one that is in front that has to kick the goal in the other side. He has also another role. You have the one that is in defense. He has his own role. So you don't have all the same job description, but you have only one objective: is to put the ball in the other side of the field. So it's why you have to understand that you are all working together to achieve this goal. And if the culture is not correct within your company, you will not get the all result from using this CAPA system. So it's why it's important that you are be educating to explain why you are doing that. Okay, I think it's a great thing. So let's do a summary of all that, Karandeep.
Okay, so the most important one, and we've touched on it many times, we even gave a good example, a poor example, is the root cause analysis. That is the key here. Get your root cause analysis, because please, that will solve a lot of problems for you. So the key to a successful CAPA is a strong root cause analysis. Make sure you're using the appropriate tool, your 5 whys, your Ishikawa, feel free to combine them. Also explore other tools as well. And do not just state human error. Like the example that we gave before, if we just gave human error, it would have been a terrible corrective action and the issue would have occurred again. Of course, following that, you need to validate your corrective action. So fine, you put your corrective action in place. You think it's going to work, but you need some measurable data in place and give it an appropriate timeline. Don't just give it a few weeks, give it a few months, give it a year if you need to. You need to verify that it's actually going to work. And another process that we keep touching on is strong cross-functional teams. So the analogy that you've just given about a football team as well, we all have a different skill. One guy's the defender, one guy's the attacker, the other's the goalkeeper. You don't just have one guy just running around the football field, just trying to play the game by himself, because that's never going to work. So you need to have a strong cross-functional team here. And be proactive, not reactive. Go out, speak with your team, change the culture of your company, tell them CAPAs, are not bad things, they're good things, because it shows that we're looking into our processes and it's all about improving something for you. So change the culture of your company and be more proactive rather than reactive.
I see something, so I like that. It's maybe now we should not call it CAPA, but PACA, which is maybe great. So I think maybe we have the culture can change like that. Let's call it PACA, because first it's maybe have really to do preventive actions to try to not have an issue occurring. And if the issue occurring, it's really the last, if I can say, things that should happen, that the issue occurs, so you have a corrective action. So maybe we'll call it PACA, or maybe we'll start this trend now that people are calling it PACA and not CAPA anymore. So it's great.
If anyone from FDA or the European Commission is listening, I'll be quite happy to put that in for you.
Exactly. It will be great, exactly. But I think it's really well summarized, and I thank you for everybody for your question. I think it's I have here a lot of people that say they agree. I like Breda that is saying that some certification body will not accept human error anymore. So as a root cause, I think it's a good thing. It's too easy to blame the person rather than look to the system failure. So, which is exactly that. So it can exist human error. I will not say it doesn't exist, but let's use it really at the end. Let's check really that this is really the really last root cause possible. But I think we have really covered here all the aspects of the CAPA. Okay, so Karandeep, something else from your side?
No, I mean, I'm open to questions. If anybody in the questions is there, feel free to ask a question. If you feel as though there's something that I haven't talked about, me and Mania will quite happily discuss it for you. Yeah,
it's great. So don't hesitate. Send all the the questions to us. Karandeep, is it okay for you if I share the slide deck with everybody?
Yeah, feel free. I mean, feel free to share that. That's not a problem at all.
No problem. So I will have the replay of this next week. So I will put a link for this presentation. So if people wants to download it. So okay. So thank you everybody for joining. Thank you everybody for all the questions and all your participation. It was really a great event. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to drop that to us. Connect with us on LinkedIn. I mean, you are already, because we are now on LinkedIn Live. So just send me a question or send to Karandeep, and we'll try to answer as soon as possible. Okay, so thank you everyone, and I wish you a nice weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye everyone.